What's up, y'all? Today we're gonna be doing two-stroke versus four-stroke. God, with the sun glaring in my fucking eyes, bro. Now this subject has been done to death already. I mean, there's so many videos out about this, but they're all really service level, and they're not really for enthusiasts. They feel more like they're for people who have only ridden one or the other, people who've never ridden before, and they're trying to find out their first bike. Now that I own both a two-stroke and a four-stroke, and I've had them for a while, um, I wanted to make this video because I think they're both great. I think they both do different things. This is a 2001 YZ250, and this is a 2006 DRZ 400 Supermoto. It's not entirely apples to apples, of course. What would be is a 450 race bike, but I think this bike will help me illustrate some of my points about four strokes. I don't really have a script here. I'm really just going to be rambling about this, but whatever, we'll probably you might get some information out of this. This isn't gonna be like, oh, you actually have to mix the gas in the two-stroke. No, we're not doing that. This is more, if you're watching this, you should already know you mix gas. This has a power band, this has mid-range torque, low-end torque. You know the basics by now, and that's really what this video is for someone who has ridden either of them. Maybe you've ridden both. I don't know. This is just stuff that I've noticed from owning both of them, riding both of them. So let's get into it. All right, first off, let's talk about the four-stroke. Now, the four-stroke will do whatever you ask of it. If you want to cruise, it'll cruise. If you want to haul ass, it'll haul ass, and it'll do everything in between. The thing with the two-stroke is it's either speeding up or slowing down. It's accelerating or decelerating. The four-stroke having the smooth power band, it's a lot better for the street, obviously. Of course, here in America, pretty much all the street legal dirt bikes are four strokes. You can't really have street legal two strokes, but the four stroke is the only option for the street, really. And for chill, just calm trail riding, sightseeing, that kind of stuff, really, the four stroke is the way to go. This bike will not chill out. Now, for the two stroke, what the two stroke does really well is just full blasting, just flat fucking getting it. Just just full send everywhere you go. That's really what the two stroke is for. Now, I know that they make enduro oriented two strokes. I know KTM, Husky, all them. They do heavier flywheel weights. They do a different pipe, so the power band's a little more linear. They change up stuff with the power valve. Those bikes are a lot more able to cruise and chill, but still, I mean, there's no, this thing will tractor up hills, it'll do all that. This bike, at least motocross oriented two strokes, they just flat get it. They just rip in the power band, and that's really what they do well. If you're just flat out hauling ass in the woods, in the desert, in sand dunes, whatever, I think two strokes absolutely the way to go. The two stroke is just lighter, it's more nimble, and it's just fun to just ring it out, just full send everywhere. That's really what the bike wants to do, at least the motocross two strokes, and that's really the only bikes that I've ridden. Now I want to talk about reliability and maintenance. I think it's kind of misleading because the two stroke has less moving parts, there's less to go wrong with it. So people automatically think that they're more reliable, and it's really not that black and white. I think that the most reliable bikes are four strokes, are these kind of overbuilt, low revving four strokes. You know, just they're not strained too much like a Honda XR 650, this DRZ 400. Those bikes are probably the most reliable motorcycles, period. Now, I think in general, the two stroke's going to be more reliable, and definitely more reliable than a 450 race bike, and especially an older carbureted 450 race bike. You know, less moving parts, less to go wrong with it, and a lot easier to maintain. You know, a lot easier to maintain for you in your garage. If you're taking them to a shop, if you have the money to take them to a shop, either or, probably go with the four stroke. Because if you're going to own a two stroke, you need to know how to wrench on it. And if you don't know how to wrench on a bike and you want to learn, there's no better bike than the two stroke. It'll teach you everything. It's super forgiving to work on, and they just keep running. Now, The two-stroke does require more routine maintenance. On the four-stroke, really the only maintenance is oil changes, and you check the valves every once in a while. On a two-stroke, it can foul plugs. You got to clean the air filter. Well, you got to clean the air filter on both of them. It'll go through top ends, but it's really not a whole lot that goes wrong with them. It's pretty much the same. But these do require more frequent rebuilds. But the rebuilds are a lot cheaper and they're a lot easier to do, you in your garage. When a four-stroke needs a rebuild, it's a whole thing. If you have to do a top end on either of these bikes, this will probably take you an hour if you know what you're doing. This will take you a fucking weekend. And, it's not fun. If either of them need a bottom end, this one you can do a bottom end in a weekend. This one, it's done. The bike's done. Another thing people don't think about in terms of cost is the cost per gallon for two-stroke gas, because you have to add oil in with the gas. So depending on what ratio you're running and what type of oil you're running, it can be an extra $1, $2, $3 a gallon, and that really does add up. But it's so worth it. Now, with just fun factor, I think we have a clear winner, of course. I mean, there's nothing like just blasting through the woods on a two-stroke. I mean, there's nothing better in the world than that, honestly. These bikes just get it. They just flat get it. That's really what you get when you get a two-stroke. You have to love them. You have to love the two-stroke. You can't just be a casual, I ride it once a week to take it to the dealership to get it worked on. You can't do that with a two-stroke. You have to love it. Because with all the little routine maintenance, all the little bullshit that it'll give you, because you're gonna foul plugs out there, you're gonna it's gonna leave you stranded once or twice. It's so worth it. Whereas the four-stroke is just like, if you get a nice maintained four-stroke and you keep up on the maintenance and it's a good reliable platform to begin with, it'll probably never leave you stranded. It's just gonna work. It's gonna start up every time and it's just gonna work. But the day that it blows up, that bike is done. That bike's over with. That's the cool thing about two-strokes is they blow up, you rebuild them better than they were before, and then you ride it, and then it blows up, and then you rebuild it again, and then the cycle continues. These bikes, once they're done, they're done. For a beginner, there's no comparison. Four-stroke is absolutely better for a beginner. It's just the snappy power band of the two-stroke is just not very forgiving. Another thing about the two-stroke is you can't ride it super slow and just lug it a whole lot, because you will foul. You'll foul it up and you'll foul the plug like that. You gotta clear it out every once in a while. And if you're a beginner, that's just kind of scary. Another thing is the whole male ego thing comes into this, and people are like, oh, well, I don't want to start on an 85. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm going to start on a 250. And then they get this thing that weighs 220 pounds and has 45 horsepower. No, it's just not a good formula. Whereas a four-stroke, this is a 400, and it has in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 horsepower. That's enough power to get you anywhere, but if you just want to cruise, it'll just cruise. The entire time it'll do that. And you can do that the entire time that you own the bike, and you can really grow into the power. As a two-stroke, you have to be able to manage the entire power of the bike. Not saying that you can't grow into a two-stroke, but it's definitely a lot trickier. You're going to learn more hard lessons. You're going to crash once or twice trying to figure it out. And God knows I have. And so is everyone else who's swung a leg over one of these fucking things. Another thing I want to touch on is carburetor tuning. Now, most new four-strokes, I think all new four-strokes are fuel injected, so if you got a fuel injected bike, skip this. Tuning the carburetor on a four-stroke is a pain in the ass, bro. It is, oh my god. A four-stroke carb has such a small sweet spot that it needs to be in, and if it's not in that sweet spot, it's gonna bog, or it's gonna hesitate. You're gonna have a flat spot. It just sucks. Whereas tuning a two-stroke carb, now pretty much all two-strokes are carbureted except for the new KTMs. They're TPI, TBI bikes. but pretty much all the old Jap two strokes, they're all carbureted, and they're not as picky. There's a bigger window where you're okay. You can adjust within that window where you want to be. So if you want it leaner, if you're doing slower trail riding, if you're doing woods riding, enduro riding, stuff like that, you can lean it out. And if you're doing a lot of flat out, you're riding in the sand dunes, you're riding in the desert, whatever, you can richen it so it's so you're not going to burn it up. So that's a cool thing about the two-stroke. But it's honestly not that big of a deal. Once you get a carburetor dialed, it's pretty much good to go forever. But if you're doing something like a carburetor swap, like this one has a carb off of a different bike, I've been fucking with it for 2 months straight, and I just got it dialed. So that is one thing that kind of sucks. But of course, a new EFI bike's not gonna have those problems. Another thing is weight. So, of course, two-stroke's gonna be lighter, of course. But is that enough to make a difference? I don't know. Difference in what? I mean, are you racing? I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. The two-stroke definitely feels lighter, especially the front end. I don't know what it is about them, but the front end, it feels so light. And then when you get on this bike, or really a modern 450, I mean, this bike's just heavy anyways because it's a DRZ, but the front end just feels so heavy, whereas this one kind of just, you can flick it around more. And that's another thing with the two-stroke, is it's really just flickable. You put the bike where you want it, it'll go do whatever. There's a spider on my shoe. But the two-stroke really just feels, it's really flickable. It wants to just fly around corners. It wants to slide around corners too, is another thing, is you spin the tire a whole lot. It goes through tires like fucking crazy. I don't really know what else to add to this. I'm kind of just sitting here rambling. So, in conclusion, they're both great. They both do different things better than each other. This one, the four-stroke, I think is better for the street. It's better for cruising on trails. And the two-stroke is better for just hauling ass and having a good time. That's about all there is. Hope this helped. And no matter what bike you're on, man, you're on a dirt bike and it's going to be fun. So, peace.